Hello people, and welcome to another Cities Skylines tier video. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today, you're going to have a look at the Sunset Harbour maps, of course, ranking them against each other. And as always, these are based on my own personal experience with the game, so if you feel I've played something too high or too low, you feel free to get down in the comments below and let me know. Otherwise, let's get started, shall we? So the first map on the Sunset Harbour tier list is Azure Gulf, and this goes immediately into an absolute must-play. One of the best maps in the entire game. So Azure Gulf is a temperate themed map with a 65% buildable area, has all natural resources and all available outside connections. Taking a look at those natural resources, everything is split really nicely across the map, and some really nice oil opportunities along the main coastline with some islands, which we'll have a look at in a moment as well. Indeed, if you're interested in using some wind, here is your wind map for Azure Gulf, and taking a look at those terrains. All the middle and in and around the starting tile is relatively flat and friendly towards building. However, if you're going to be popping 81 tiles, the vast majority of land that you're going to be getting is rolling hills / some pretty significant mountainous terrain. So not the best map in the world for 81 tiles, but not the worst either. And if you would like to do some fishing in Sunset Harbour, then you have all salmon in the rivers, with tons of shellfish and anchovy knocking about in the main kind of ocean and waterway channels down in the bottom of the map. So why indeed is it a must play? Well, just take a look at it. It's just a beautiful map, and I think if we compare this map, which is at the time of this video the most recent one, and you compare them to how the base game maps look, how much better have they gotten, right? Like ridiculously better at making maps. It's pretty crazy. So we'll take a look at the starting tile. Nice and flat. There is also ore in here as well if you want to get involved with some industry stuff, with of course access down onto the water as well if you're looking to get involved in some fishing. So nice starting tile. Very nice custom interchanges on Azure Gulf, has to be pointed out. You know, if we're going to point them out when they're bad, then we have to point them out when they're good. But nice little trumpets. So always nice to see these kind of little things added into a map, right? And the same again with our train junctions, much more appropriate now, much wider, going to avoid all that train traffic. Again, you have all your usual kind of map detailings and nuances, all these kind of machine gun nests or anti-aircraft guns, whatever you want to call them, right? You kind of got these along the coast. And if you are looking for some kind of coastal downtown vibes, Azure Gulf is a great choice for this. You have all of this kind of bulky landmass here, again some kind of slight Manhattan vibes developing with the way the waterways flow. All of these islands out here on the coast are covered in oil, so some really good opportunities for some kind of offshore oil refining. Might be quite a nice vibe to get involved with here. Like seriously, just look at this. Look at this little detailed river valley on Azure Gulf. Just such a nice map. They did a great job with this one. You know, another prime example right here. All of its rivers have been wonderfully terraformed. There is some kind of gorge jank happening, but it's appropriate gorge because it's kind of coming out of the mountains and you can see all these streams coming down here. So all in all, just a very, very good map. All your resources, all your connections, lots of different types of varying landscapes, some of it more challenging than others. Some very nice coastal downtown opportunities, and in general just a very nice appealing map to look at and play on. So for me, Azure Gulf goes into must play and also picks up the title of one of the best maps in the game. Next up is Crater Falls, and this just about falls into a C tier for me. So Crater Falls is probably one of the hardest maps to place out of any of the maps in the game, to be honest. Quite interesting, we'll have a look why here. It is a boreal themed map with a 46% buildable area, and you have no sea connection, so no cruise liners or terminals in this city. Here we have a look at its natural resources. Again, everything's split pretty evenly across the map, but its terrain will make getting to a lot of these relatively hard, which has to be mentioned. Taking a look at your wind, there isn't really that much wind outside of the central lake and the very tops of the mountain ridges, so not a great map for wind turbines. Its terrain certainly lives up to its name of Crater Falls. You are definitely playing within some kind of impact crater here, right? With lots of rivers and valleys kind of flowing down towards this central water point. And the fishing is, again, like the resources, you've got pretty even splits of most things, with salmon and shellfish taking the domination, with a little bits of tuna and anchovies knocking about as well. So fishing is nice and evenly split here. So this very nearly falls into our first crap map of these tier lists, and we'll have a little look why. The first point here is the terrain. Absolutely not in any way friendly to 81 tiles here. You're only getting access to very significant mountain terrain here. This is totally not suitable for pretty much most types of building. Maybe a little bit of flat space here, but you know, who's going to build out here anyway? So it's a really unique shaped map, and that will kill it for a lot of people. However, it will probably bring it up for some people as well. It's not just another kind of map, it is like a crater with lots and lots of waterways all coming down the mountains, which is quite a nice aesthetic to be fair, but again, probably not the best for building. Its internal connections are really kind of cool looking as well. You do get some rails like following the spine of these mountain ridges. That happens in a couple of places as well. I think there's one over there. And again, it's train junctions and kind of train networks, whilst not too bad. Certainly aren't the best. This is a little bit janky here, but all stuff that can be fixed, of course. The waterways get a little more gnarly down here. We are moving into the falls part of the map. There are several kind of major waterfalls all around this side here. So you'll either love the terrain or you'll hate it. It's kind of a mixed bag really, and it'll differ from person to person, I imagine. This is actually the city that I built the 2021 how to start guide on. This map here. And looking at your starting tile, you do have access to fertile land, oil and ore, all within the starting tile, which I think is the only map in the game that has that, to have all 4 resources in the starting tile straight away. I think it is anyway, that could be wrong. Things that are bringing its score up and keeping it out of crap map are its nicely custom made interchanges. Again, nice little Y number here, always better than the regular, these ones, whatever you want to call this, a T or something, right? So I don't think I can really place it any higher than C tier. Some very gnarly, if not unique terrain, lots and lots of water, no sea connection, and generally difficult landscapes to work with bring this score down for me. But like I said, all of those points that I just listed could bring this right into must play for somebody. It's going to be a mixed bag, I think. Crater Falls, you'll either love it or you'll hate it. But C tier for me. Next up on the Sunset Harbour map tier list is the Desert Oasis, and this, for me, falls into a middle of the road B tier. So Desert Oasis is the first and only desert themed / tropical map in the game with a 76% buildable area. It does have all available natural resources, however the fertile land basically might as well not exist because it's so small. And of course you are landlocked in the desert, so there is no sea connection here, no terminals or cruise liners. If you are interested in those natural resources, you are playing with mainly oil and ore here, of course with forestry being able to place manually, but there are some significant oil fields and ore deposits knocking around in the mountains. You have wind, then here's the wind map for Desert Oasis. The terrain is nice and friendly, and also friendly to 81 tiles as well, with the starting tile being nice and flat, and then only kind of slight rolling hills and changes in elevation in the valleys, whilst the higher mountain peaks of course remain mountainous. And if you are looking to do some fishing, of course, which you will need 81 tiles to get to that, then you do have anchovy and shellfish available. It's a really interesting looking map, and I think the fact that it is the first and only map of its kind in being a desert, this definitely pulls its score up. We have actually built a city on this map way back when Sunset Harbour first came out, and this is its starting tile here, and this is actually where your fertile land is too. It's really minimal, basically nothing here. There's a tiny little bit over here as well, but that's basically it. There is no farming other than that. But huge patches of oil right up here, so you get some very nice oil field vibes going, alongside nice big pockets of ore knocking about in the mountains as well. But it's quite an interesting map to look at purely because it is desert, whilst its terrains aren't anything huge to write home about. These are pretty kind of standard terraformed vanilla mountains. Just the fact that you get to play in a desert really brings in an entirely different vibe into the build. And of course, living up to its name of Desert Oasis, you will find these oasis. Is that the plural for oasis? Oasis, I don't know, let me know in the comments. Either way, you will find these little Oasis placed around the map in various places. So it definitely lives up to its name, and again you've got some nice little vanilla detailing, props and assets knocking about near the end of the rail lines over here. Alongside quite a nice elevated highway as well, which is quite a nice aesthetic I think. I do like that, especially with the sand dunes in the background too. It is using the kind of stock cloverleaf interchanges from the base game, so not great. You're going to want to rip this out for something different. And that is your only highway intersection. There is nothing else apart from that single one. And then there's plenty of rail knocking around across the map. Also comes down here as well, past the start of the area. There is a larger body of water knocking about in the mountains, but you need 25 or 81 tiles to get to this. To expand organically out this way using just the 9 tiles would leave you with the weirdest shaped map in the world. You definitely want the tile mods to get over to this water. However, it is a really fun and interesting theme to work with in the desert. Definitely gives you some different vibes and kind of changes up the whole city, to be honest. If you haven't caught our Desert Oasis live stream, I will leave a link pinned in the top right of this video for that. But if you are going to play this, there's no sea connection. Very little, basically non-existent fertile land. The desert theme might bring this down for some people, might also boost it for some people. Really depends on kind of, you know, your own palette. What do you like and don't like, etc. But with a nice theme, not all of its connections and resources, and some relatively interesting landscapes and designs within the infrastructure, it's going to be a middle of the road B tier for me. Next up is Fisher Enclave, and this for me goes into a very healthy A tier. So Fisher Enclave, really interesting themed map. Let's have a look at its information. It's a European themed map with no rail connection and a 45% buildable area. It has all available natural resources, although very little ore. And taking a look at those natural resources is predominantly fertile land and oil. So if you're a fan of those two, you will enjoy Fisher Enclave. In terms of your wind, all based around the water as you would imagine, with some windy spots up on the mountain peaks. Your terrain, very flat, very easy to build on. Lots of water in the 821 tile radius, but you will still get access to some fairly significant land masses. So the map is friendly to 821 tiles. If you're looking to do some fishing and you have a love of shellfish, then you will absolutely love Fisher Enclave. Of course, lots of water with this map and kind of ties into Sunset Harbour's main theme of fishing. But tons of shellfish, like literally tons. But it's waterways that really bring this map up. It's a very interesting looking landscape, really kind of carved up by all of this water, and some kind of similar vibes to Rosalind Peninsula as well. When we looked at that map in the last tier video, there was lots of water around that one, and that brought its score up. It's not always a bad thing. Some immediate jank in the internal infrastructure. You would not want to come over this kind of lip with the bridge at high speed, right? Yeah, so definitely some vanilla jank there, but again, nothing that can't be fixed relatively easily by yourself. Again, with this starting tile, lots of nice opportunities, forestry, fertile land. There's kind of a little waterfront bay here. There's a little island out. You can definitely get involved with some really nice things here. You're doing different ideas, and I like this one. Its only highway interchange is the regular base game cloverleaf, so nothing outstanding. This will want to be upgraded at some point. But I hope you can all agree, just with the bird's eye view here, that Fisher Enclave is just quite an appealing map. Very pretty to look at. Lots and lots of waterfront opportunities, so if you like building in and around water, then, Fisher Enclave is going to be right up there for you. No rail connection is a little bit of a shame. There's going to be no internal cargo or train lines, so you'll be relying on the airports and the highways and the cruise terminals to bring all those people in. It's bridges. I don't know why they've made the bridges like this. They've made a real obvious point of elevating it by 12 meters over 10 tiles and repeating it the same. It's a little bit kind of glaring. Not my type of bridges anyway, but I really like this, right? The kind of the little mass of land that the highway follows, and it's all surrounded by water. Which, as with most of the maps in Sunset Harbour, will either make you love it or make you hate it. Everyone will be different here. No rail and very limited ore, but with a water themed map you would kind of expect that anyway. Do keep it out of must play. alongside some other bits and pieces that I've mentioned. But either way, Fisher Enclave, really good map, lands in a very strong A tier for me. And last but certainly not least on the Sunset Harbour map tier list is Swamplands, and this for me goes into a very healthy A tier. So Swamplands is a boreal themed map with a 71% buildable area. It has all of its outside connections and natural resources. Taking a look at those natural resources, it is mainly fertile land and forestry here. There are smaller spatterings of oil and ore, but not vast amounts of it, so you won't be generating any real significant industrial vibes here. This wind map is mainly based all around the centre in and around the main rivers and the starting tile, so relatively friendly to wind turbines. Terrain, probably one of the most beginner friendly maps ever. Super flat for ages, especially within the 9 tile radius. Map is extremely friendly to 81 tiles. You're just going to be unlocking more of these flat green plains with rivers flowing through them. Great map for 81 tiles. And if you are looking at doing some fishing, you have pretty much a nice even split of absolutely everything across all of the various rivers, which this kind of heat map really highlights just how extensive those river networks actually are. But in my opinion, certainly one of the better boreal theme maps to be building on, especially for beginners. This is just like so flat and just so open. Just makes it so much easier to build on. Yeah, really interesting landscapes, lots of waterfront opportunities again, as with the vast majority of the Sunset Harbour maps, bar Desert Oasis. Looks like there's some terraforming opportunities here. You can actually kind of like bring this river through and then cut this off as its own little island. It's like they almost managed it. not quite. I'm not sure what's going on here. It's a feature, not a bug, right? You do have some more interesting terraforming around the edge of the rivers where they fall more into kind of streams as opposed to actual rivers, but all nice, right? You can definitely get some nice town designs around these. And then where we do have some slightly higher land, it's all fair game. There's nothing horrifically bad about this, right? It's nice to have a little bit of height, but still very friendly towards those new players. We're starting to get some fancier, if slightly less efficient, rail intersections with this map here. These two are just dancing on the edge of a little bit too close, but you can kind of get away with it. Sort this out. That's way too steep. But you know, all stuff that can be changed. And your regular highway intersections are just the standard base game T-junction. So nothing massive to write home about there in terms of the infrastructure, but of course that can all be changed to your own desire. Otherwise, too much to say about Swamplands other than the fact that it is a nice, safe, flat, boreal themed map that's very friendly to beginners, has all your resources and connections, with a absolute ton of waterways. You could develop some very interesting ferry networks using a map like this. It would actually be really cool to kind of build a town on one side of the river and then only allow access down to the next town via ferry. I think that would be really cool to kind of play with an idea in a city like that on Swamplands. But if you like rivers, all your connections, all your resources, you like a boreal theme and you like nice flat buildable space, Swamplands is indeed a very strong A-tier map in that regard. Okay guys, that is going to do it for today. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, likes, comments and shares below really help grow my channel. Equally as much if you haven't enjoyed it, then please feel free to leave a dislike as well. If you would like to help support the work we're doing here, you can subscribe to me on Patreon, or use my referral link to InstantGaming, which has some very cheap codes for all of your favourite games, and I do get a kit back for every purchase. All of those are linked down below. Thank you so much again for all support on the tier videos. We will more than likely look at Part Life next. I think that has some of the more interesting maps. Indeed, a little thank you for all the support on our upcoming modded series, ILOS. You're all looking forward to it. Really nice to read all your comments on the trailer and the end of Bavaria. So yeah, I'm glad you guys are excited. Me too. But otherwise, so I'll shut up and we'll leave it there. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, enjoy the rest of your day.